welcome to the Clicks and Giggles podcast. This is your host, Jordan Rothwell Perry, here today. We are going to talk about something that I believe everyone struggles with, and that is imposter syndrome. And so when you look up symptoms and features of imposter syndrome, it is intellectual self-doubt, low self-esteem, feelings of fraudulence or inadequacy, fear of success, fear of failure, and there's also like different subtypes of imposter syndrome, which I did not know. There's the perfectionist, the superhero, the expert, the natural genius, and the soloist. In these types, and I was reading on University of Cincinnati's site, the perfectionists, they set unrealistically high goals and then they're never satisfied with their achievements. That sounds about right for a perfectionist. The superhero, these are people that feel like they must excel in all the different roles they play in their life. The expert, they're always hungry to learn more about their field of expertise in order to maintain their position as experts. And this is from Mind Help that I'm reading this. The natural genius, these people think intelligence must be inherent. And then the soloist, they love to work alone as their self-worth is tied to their own ability and productivity. So I'm very intrigued if you feel like one of these resonates with you, and send me a DM if one of them resonates with you the most. As I'm looking at this, I'm like, oh my gosh, I wonder which one I am or have struggled with in the past. I'd probably say the superhero, the perfectionist. The soloist is interesting because I love having a team and working together and sharing their wins. But I think in a unhealthier stage of life, that I'm sure that hit. And then definitely the expert of just hungry to learn more in the field of expertise to maintain their position as an expert. It all hits. So I wonder if any of this hit for you. And so Psychology Today says that people who struggle with imposter syndrome believe they're undeserving of their achievements and the high esteem in which they are, in fact, generally held. They feel like they aren't as competent or intelligent as others might think, and soon enough that people will discover the truth about them. Those with imposter syndrome, which is not an official diagnosis, they're often well accomplished. They may hold high office or have many different degrees. And it's just so interesting. And so they say that people who struggle with it struggle with self-efficacy, perfectionism, neuroticism. Totally makes sense. But as far as overcoming it, that's what we're going to talk about today. So we're not going to stay in the negative weeds. We're going to plant ourselves in a different, more positive setting. So, overcoming imposter syndrome, it's so interesting. I remember in 2022 coaching with Jen Bowie, who I love, and I was about to make a pivot in my business. I remember I was at Mastermind and I went out back by the pool area. We were in Austin. And there was a group coaching call, and I just said, I just wonder if people will be like, who does she think she is to do this? And Jen was so good, is so good, but she said, are you wondering who do I think I am to do this? And it like has changed everything for me to remember whenever I start to doubt myself or think others will think something, it's actually more internal and with me. Now, obviously, if someone's being like rude to you or saying things, that don't get it twisted. That's not in your head. That is real life. But for me, no one's ever put what I do down, at least not to my face. And I was about to make this change and I kept saying, who does she think she is? And then I really dug deeper and I was like, whoa, this is this imposter syndrome. Who do I think I am to have this kind of business or this growth or do this or work with this type of client? And I'm so thankful I was able to speak those words out loud and then now catch it anytime it comes up. And now almost 2 years later from that call, and I think I was almost 2 years into business back then, I can catch it and be like, oh, this is just my silly self-doubt. And I know that sometimes people name like the negative thought or negative emotion side of their brain. Oh, this is just, I'm just going to say, Mildred coming out to say what she wants to say. And so I know people do that too, which I think is very interesting. I'm just trying to catch the thoughts as they come. And thankfully, once you catch them over time, they come a lot less in your brain, which is beautiful. So let's talk about fighting imposter syndrome. So the first thing is going to be catch. So being like, what was that thought? And being aware to it. And you may not even be aware to certain thoughts you have yet, which is so wild. And something I have pondered before is like, how long did I not even realize that I was thinking negative thoughts, which then is influencing other actions, emotions, etc. First, you need to catch the thought and be like, okay, is this true? Hold up. This does not seem right. And so then once you do that, you need to find ways to fight it. And so here are a couple ways that I have figured out how to fight imposter syndrome. Number one, I have a screenshot folder, a folder on my Google Drive called Nice Words. All that is anytime someone in Slack has praised me or the team, has praised the work, has put praised results, anything kind, nice words, it goes in that folder. And so then I'm able to look at that folder from time to time if I need a little pump up and be like, yeah, this is literally all in your dang head, girly. You can go back to that nice words folder whenever you need that little pump up and be like, oh, this is not true. Look at all of this. I've had to do it when dealing with a few clients who may be a little more difficult and it starts to get in my head. And then I'm like, no, this definitely says more about them than me. Like, I am firm in what I have to offer, what I bring to the table, and how I can serve people. And so the nice words folder, I would 100% start that today if you don't have it. Some people have, I've heard of people having them on their phone in a little album that they can look at. Also, marketing tip, you can repurpose this into good content to show other people what it's like working with you. So that's also why I have it. We screenshot those, they go on the website, they go in my service guide that I go over on sales calls with people. So it's multi-purpose. It's not just the little boost if you are struggling. It is you're able to repurpose it, put it in emails, all good things down the road, social too. The nice words folder, love that. Next up, I have another folder called results. And how wonderful when you're good at what you do to be able to put a bunch of great results that people have gotten through working with you in a folder. And that also has two purposes. A, you can use it in marketing down the road, but B, you can go back to what is true here and oh my gosh, I am good at what I do. Look at what I've helped other people accomplish. Here's what we've done for people, and here's what we can do for people. And this is just your brain trying to mess with you. And that's just literally not true. So I would also recommend, also pro marketing tip, use this to share on social, in emails, put it on your website, make a reel of some results, but you need to be keeping track of your results anyways. And it's so good to be able to go and look at them and be like, well, that thought is just absolutely not true. Or I know so and so is doing this and it's making me think that maybe I'm not as good as them or yada yada. No, these results say otherwise. And I definitely want you to make a folder if you don't already have it of results. And you can call it wins, just screenshots of good things that you've done that you can look back on and be like, okay, A, you can fight imposter syndrome with them, but B, you have the double whammy of using it to market as well. And then one other thing I would say to fight imposter syndrome is going to be a note in your phone of wins. And that can just be something you do over time as you're just thinking about it. But that's also just a nice place to have a list of, hey, these are like the top 5 things I'm super proud of I've done in business. Top 10, I am the real deal. I don't need to entertain these thoughts at all. And then I would also add a fourth one of journaling. Get the thoughts out of your brain, identify what they are, and also identify when you start to think them. Most of the listeners of this podcast are women, so I'll just go right into it. If it is in your luteal phase before your cycle, that is a time that you have to fight with your noggin and be like, this is just not true. And you can identify, hey, I really start to think these thoughts, or I am scrolling and seeing other people and comparing, and it sends me down a rabbit hole that I don't need to go down. Like, then maybe that you don't scroll then, or you have those nice words, results ready for you to review and look at and celebrate. And like maybe that's just like something you do once a month is, hey, I'm going to gather all the wins from this month. What did we do that we're so proud of? And that is just another way to fight against that. But also, if you journal and identify it and you realize, oh, it is after I'm in like this room with, I don't know, my mastermind, or it's after, wow, twice it's happened after I've gone to lunch with a friend, so and so. And then you can be like, huh, maybe they're not as great of a friend. By taking the time to pause and write it out, you really can fight this. Like, one of the biggest times I had imposter syndrome was probably 18 months ago when my business, we signed like 3 clients in a couple days. I was figuring out onboarding, all this stuff, and our ops weren't as tight as I wanted them to be. And what it really was, it wasn't me saying, "Oh, I don't think I can do this." It wasn't that. It was like, "Do we have our ducks in a row to do this?" Okay, so we made some good operational changes. So you could use it to be like, "Oh, it's not my skill that's being doubted by me right now. It's like, how are we going to do this?" And so that was something as I started growing that I'll bring up Jen Bowie again. She's so great. I got coaching on with her as I was like, how am I going to do this? And she was like, it's just, you've done this before. It's literally the same work you've done before. It's just a little more of it. And so when you're able to think that way and rationalize with yourself, oh, like our brains are going to go into this survival mode. They want to survive, they want to be safe. And we can say, hey, you're safe. We haven't done it this way before, but it's going to be fine. And we're going to figure it out. And so something we put in place after that in the business was that we actually don't onboard more than 2 clients at once, and it's beautiful. Then we know that those months we're onboarding 2 at a time. It's great. People can get in when they're ready if we have a spot open, and that helps too because we know, hey, this month client A and client B are onboarding. These clients are in a launch. These clients are doing evergreen ads. Like it's lovely. And so you can use these thoughts that come into your brain for good and be like, why is this coming up? And a lot of the times it's A, just your brain trying to keep you safe, or B, there is actually a switch or change you need to make in your life, in your business, so that it hums better and use that for good. I just want to encourage you today if you have been struggling with imposter syndrome or are struggling with it, have struggled before, or have anyone in your life who is struggling, A, send them this podcast, and B, really put these things into place, especially when you're not struggling, so you can easily access them. Catch the thought, get that folder of nice words that you can put some screenshots in there, get those results gathered up, and that's just going to help you sell better too, market yourself better over time, being able to show, here's what I can do for you. And then definitely get a note in your phone about some wins, just so you can have that top of mind if you need to see it on the go. And journal, what is the deep root of this imposter syndrome? Is it people I've been around lately? Is it my brain just trying to keep me safe? Is it because I've never done this before, but actually I have? It's just going to be on a different scale and it's going to be okay. So I just want to encourage you today, if you struggle with imposter syndrome, know that there are some things you can put in place to fight it. And let me know if you try any of these, how they help you. I'm cheering for you. I'm in business alongside you, and I cannot wait to see you on our next episode of Clicks and Giggles.